had always trusted my instincts, but even I was unprepared for what unfolded that evening. My wife and I had been together for years, and like any long-term relationship, we had our routines, our jokes, our little habits that made life predictable and comfortable. I never suspected anything was wrong, at least not until the night he walked in. It started like any other evening. We were hosting a small dinner with friends at our apartment, a casual gathering with laughter, wine, and the soft hum of conversation. I noticed her acting a little different, though I didn't think much of it at the time. Her smile seemed forced, her laughter just a touch too high-pitched, and there was a nervous edge in the way she moved. But I dismissed it. People get anxious, right? She was always slightly fidgety at social events. Then he walked in. I didn't know him personally, but I recognized the way she stiffened, the way her hand trembled slightly as she reached for her glass. Her eyes widened for just a fraction of a second, betraying an emotion she clearly wanted to hide. My stomach sank. That small, almost imperceptible gesture spoke volumes. Something was happening beneath the surface that I had never imagined. And in that moment, I felt a chill I couldn't shake. I tried to stay calm, observing quietly. She laughed nervously, introduced him to the group, and tried to regain composure. But the tension was palpable. I watched the interactions closely, noting the subtle touches, the lingering glances, and the ease with which they seemed to communicate without words. It wasn't just familiarity, it was intimacy. For weeks afterward, I replayed the night over and over in my mind. That tremble, that glance, that nervous laugh, it haunted me. I tried to confront her, gently at first, with questions about the evening, about her relationship with him. She brushed it off, claimed it was nothing, insisted I was reading too much into it. But the unease didn't leave me. I knew something was happening, even if she denied it. Then came the confirmation. 3 months later, I found evidence I couldn't ignore. Messages, receipts, photos, small pieces that together painted a picture I had feared. She had been seeing him, meeting him in secret, sharing moments that should have been ours. The betrayal was complete, deliberate, and hidden in plain sight. The hand that trembled that night had held secrets from me, from our marriage, from the life we had built together. The confrontation was inevitable. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I showed her what I had found and watched as the realization dawned in her eyes. The panic, the guilt, the helplessness. For months, she had carried on with the deception, thinking she could maintain both worlds. But the truth has a way of catching up, and when it does, it leaves nothing untouched. I won't lie. The hurt was immense. I had invested years of my life, trust, and love into a marriage that had been undermined by secrecy and betrayal. But amid the pain, I felt a strange clarity. I realized that her actions spoke far more than her apologies ever could. The hand that trembled in the first moment had foreshadowed everything that came after: deceit, infidelity, and ultimately, the collapse of trust. In the weeks following the revelation, I made decisions to protect myself. I separated emotionally first, then physically, ensuring that I could reclaim my sense of self, dignity, and control. I surrounded myself with people I trusted, focused on work, and began the slow process of rebuilding a life that had been shaken to its core. Betrayal leaves scars, but it also leaves lessons about vigilance, about self-respect, and about recognizing signs that you can no longer ignore. 3 months later, when I finally left, it wasn't in anger or revenge. It was with clarity, with the knowledge that I deserved honesty, loyalty, and love that was not conditional or hidden. The tremble of that hand had been a warning, a silent signal that my trust was being broken. I acted when I had the proof, and in doing so, reclaimed my life. Looking back, I see that night as a turning point. That single, subtle gesture, the tremble, the nervous laugh, the fleeting glance, spoke louder than months of words could. It was the first crack in a facade, the initial clue to a truth I didn't want to face, but ultimately had to confront. Betrayal often starts small, in gestures, in glances, in actions that seem insignificant at the time. But if you pay attention, the signs are there, waiting for you to see them. The lesson is harsh but necessary. Trust is precious, and once broken, it cannot be taken for granted. 3 months later, everything had changed, and I had changed with it. I learned to listen to instincts, to value self-respect, and to recognize that actions, even subtle ones, carry meaning far beyond the moment. The hand that trembled that night was more than a gesture. It was a warning I finally heeded.